Today, Elijah White, retired VP from Exxon Mobil, graduate of UNC Chapel Hill, godly father, faithful husband, righteous servant, man of God, generous friend, disciplined steward, and strategic planner. And now, producing from Wisdom's pipeline.
One of the things that you've done well is managing bridges, which is managing relationships. And that is a major Christian principle, because the relationships that we have with people will determine whether they're willing to follow us, and the impact that we're able to have on them, and their willingness to be submitted to us making disciples or training them. Now, I know one of the hardest places to do that is at home.
Yeah.
So let's transition, because I'm a girl dad too,
Yeah.
and I know you have a son as well. But you start off as a girl dad. Yeah. So let's talk about this girl dad thing, man. Ooh, how challenging is it to be revered in two different places, but at the same token, sometimes the response can be a little different at home than it is at work.
You know, maybe I set the bar too low. You know, I remember having conversations with my daughters early on, before the son came along, and I said, here's the deal. Like my oldest daughter, I used her for example when I was going to get her first car. We set some goals. Okay, you can't get pregnant before high school. If you ever get caught, with drugs or drinking, you're donating the car. If somebody's riding in your car with you and they have that, because you're responsible for everybody in your car, all those things, any of that stuff, and then you're taking your car away from you, blank. I had all these kind of rules, and I kept thinking about, man, I'm setting this bar too low. And it was interesting when we were moving this last time, and I was going through stuff as we're throwing stuff out. I found a contract that I wrote with my daughter. And I laughed so hard about that thing, and I had to send it to her, and she laughed as well. And it was just about, let's come to some understanding about, I don't expect you to be perfect, but there are some minimum hurdles that you have to get over, right? And, I can't tell you what you're going to do when you grow up. I want to see you grow up. And I remember my oldest daughter told me, she said, Dad, she said, people learn from their mistakes. And how are we going to learn if you don't let us make mistakes? And I looked her in the eye and I said, you know what? I said, you are so absolutely right. But here's the deal. There's some mistakes that you don't recover from. And those are the ones that I'm really trying to step in the way of. So what I hope you heard from that is we talked. We had conversations. Yeah. We didn't always agree. We had some disagreements. And I gave them the right early on in life to always challenge me when I gave them directives. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to have to do it, but you're free to ask questions to why, as opposed to the do what I tell you to do, whatever it is. Let's talk about why I want you to do it. And there were times that I regretted giving them that authority, if you will. But as they become adults, I'm so glad I did, because I, at least in my view, they never abused that authority. And my kids are nothing close to being perfect. Nobody's kids are, but I'm proud of every last one of them.
Good. Look here, I'm in the same boat. We did the same thing with our girls. Yeah. And when I had that first daughter, one of the things my wife was very, very adamant about, and I was along board with that, is giving her the power of her voice. Yeah. And also lighting that flame of self-awareness, letting her understand how powerful she is and what she brings to a table. And one of the things I want to talk about is, you say, hey, we signed a contract. Yeah. I love the fact that you introduced her to this idea of covenant, because covenant doesn't keep you from making mistakes, but it makes you aware of how your decisions affect this team or this partnership. Yeah. So was that something that you wanted to really instill in her, the power of agreement, the power of covenant?
I did, and the power of responsibility and accountability more than anything.
Yes.
It's like, there is some accountability, and there's some repercussions to some of the things that you do, and they don't only affect you, but they affect those around you. So it was not just the contracts; it was the checking accounts. I tried to help them understand, because I remember going to look at a vehicle one time, And we decided to look at a more expensive vehicle, and my daughter fell in love with it. I goes, well, we can't afford that right now. And my daughter looked at me and goes, Daddy, just write a check. Okay. So, all right. So now we need to.
I love it.
We need to sit down and have a conversation. So we sat down and I kind of created their own little checking accounts and what happens when you take money out and you can only spend what you have in there. And then even with a stock deal, I put them together a stock sheet and I says, okay, you guys have this much stock. Now you have to watch it. If it goes up, this is how much you've made. And it was just a little simple Excel spreadsheet just so that they would kind of understand that, hey, I'm going to watch this stuff and I can make money or I can lose money. And at the end of the day, I can't tell you, how good any of those lessons worked, but none of them have seemed to have had any issues when it came to money. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So,
well, what you did was great for them. And this is going to lead us towards something that we mentioned yesterday to talk about. And that's this generation is coming behind us because one of the things that we talked about is giving a baseline. Yeah. Now, you had a baseline of a responsible, hardworking mom and grandma. They instilled in you hard work ethics. They instilled in you the understanding of what a servant is, and what you bring to the table. But from an understanding of corporate and investing and saving and all of these different things, that was something that was that they cannot establish for you as a baseline.
Yeah.
But you use the baseline of what they gave you to excel.
Yeah.
Now here you are able to establish a completely different baseline for your daughters, which should make them some monsters out there. So what is it like to be able to put them on a baseline like that?
The problem is the baseline has changed because, if you look at, again, we talk about technology. And, when you look at who are the stars of the planet these days, right? Obviously, they're athletes that are making lots of money. They're entertainers. They're all these other things. It's like, okay, well, I don't have skills. I can't sing. I can't act. I'm not, 6'8" and handsome, type deal. And I can't run fast. I can't jump, So those things are off the table for me and for my kids. But guess what? There's these things called these social media influencers now. And our kids are TikTokers, and they say these kids are making tons of money, hundreds of millions of dollars doing all this stuff. And so all of a sudden the kids are backing up. Wait a minute, why do I have to go work hard for 30 plus years when I can just do this? And I'm a believer. Do you remember the days of I'll call them the pyramid schemes, if you will, the Amways, the whatever. So those people who get in early have got it made. Everybody coming in behind them still have a tough road to hoe. And so I don't mind kids who want to be the social influencers or anything else, but it's just like the advice I gave to people 30 years ago, I give to them today. Whatever goal that you have that you want to go and you got a passion for, I want you to go for it. But what's your backup plan if that doesn't work out? So your backup plan may be, I'm still working this 9 to 5 every day. I'm doing my social media at night type deal until it, kind of plans out for me. So that general message has not changed. The baseline has changed though, in terms of what these kids are looking at. One of the son and one of the daughters now, they're investing all over the place. They never showed me what they're investing in or how they're doing it, but they started talking to me about Bitcoin, which I still don't understand this cryptocurrency, if you will. And when my son,
I think that's more like a pyramid scheme. Yeah. Until I see some hard lines.
Well, my son told me and my daughter they had gotten into some Bitcoin, and I'm like, wait a minute, those things are trading at $45,000 a share. How'd you get? Well, we don't own a whole share. We own so you can buy bits and pieces of it, like a few dollars here, a few dollars there. And I think my son said, hey, I just made $600. Well, $600 to me is, it cost me what, 100 and something to fill up my car right now. The grocery store spending $200. So that $600 doesn't mean anything to me. It means a lot to him. But at least his head is in the right place. He's looking at the right things, and he knows kind of the risk reward of these things. So I'm excited to see them doing it, if you will. But they also know they still got to work a 9 to 5, if you will, while they're waiting on these, because this little $600 that's coming in, it seems really great right now. And it is a positive step, but guess what? It is not going to pay the bills. So I think they've got that right mindset. So I'm okay with them doing that. My son is a video game fanatic. He'll stay up at 5 o'clock in the morning playing video games. Drives me absolutely crazy. But you know what? Graduated high school, played a whole bunch of sports in high school, graduated college, I think he's taking his test to graduate from the fire academy today.
Yep.
He just finished his EMT training. You know what? It's kind of hard for me to be mad about the video games because he's doing it. And I go back to me. When I was in graduate school, my professor told me that I was going to struggle because, you know, I'm in graduate school now. I used to work out all the time, worked out every day. I like to go on dates from time to time. I wasn't married then, Diana. I like to go on dates from time to time. And he told me I had to cut all that out. And I told him I refused to do it. And when I graduated, I remember he came up to put his arm around me and he said, "I'm so proud of you. You did it your way." And I knew what I had to do to succeed. And if all I did was study, I would have probably crashed and burned. I had to do it.
Well, and I think that's good that we have to look at the next generation and to take into context that things are different. But I want to go back to this baseline because part of the baseline that you gave them was not just an understanding of money and investing and being strategic, but also character, and then this other word C that I want to throw in is compromise. And there are a lot of opportunities that could make a lot of money, but we still have to be people of character, and then we also have to have that line. It's like, okay, I'm not going to go past this line to make money because I'm not going to compromise this character. So let's talk about that a little bit because that's the new thing. It's a lot of ways to make money.
Yep, it is. You know, character is something you can't teach, right? You can demonstrate it, and you can talk about it. You know, as my mom says to the I forgot what term she used. But at the end of the day, people are going to decide for themselves how important that is for them. So we have to be convincing. The only way we can be convincing is we have to demonstrate it in the way that we live and the way that we act. So when times get tough, we want them to look over and say, yeah, that's what I need to be doing. That's what I saw my mother or my father doing. So character, again, is extremely important because it can carry you a long way. And again, from, you fall in the street, that person, sticking out their hand to help you up versus that person pushing you farther down. A lot of times character is the difference between how other people react to how you behave. And again, whether people want to help you out or not. But to me, I have to be comfortable in myself when I wake up every morning and I look in the mirror. Do I like what I see? And I think there are a lot of people who don't like what they see. I don't know how I just can't even fathom that, doing something that would cause me to be afraid, to be ashamed to look in the mirror. And that's the way I try to talk to my kids is that when you stand up, it doesn't matter, because, all our kids were athletes. And I remember having a conversation with them after a game, and it wasn't a matter of whether you won or lost. Tell me what you could have done differently today to change that outcome. And I remember my daughter told me one time, "Dad, I played as hard as I could. I scored 2 goals, and I was, back and forth. I don't know if I could have done anything else." I said, "You know what? Then you won today. The team might not have won, but you won." And it's not that I'm trying to tell her you're better than the team, but you can't beat yourself up when you do everything you could have done. Now, if she told me, "Well, Dad, I was tired. I stayed up all night. I didn't give half or whatever," now we got a different conversation. And so to me, you have to make sure you're doing everything you can. And once you've done everything you can, you got nothing to be ashamed of.
Join us next week for Producing from Wisdom's Pipeline